Welcome to the studio, guys. It's Saturday. Today, just 4 or 5 hours here in the studio, mixing a song. It still doesn't have a name. I'm just calling it Hold with a really good singer-songwriter from Italy. I got the arrangement all down. I got all of the elements in there, but the sound is just whack. It sounds like a demo. I'll play you right now in the intro before and after mixing, and then run you through all of the mixing techniques that I've used on this song. Hopefully you'll learn something and be able to also use some of these techniques on your songs to improve them as much as possible. Huge difference. I have to be honest, it's not only just mixing, because sometimes there are things so wrong, you just have to replace them. For example, in this song, the kick. The previous kick was just really bad. It just didn't have the frequencies that were needed to fill out that kick kind of frequency spectrum, sound tight and not destroy everything else. So I went right in here using kick 2 and I just shaped the kick. Took quite long. I like it so much I even saved it. It's now called Kick Hold P1. Just random. And yeah, the length is really important. Not too long, not too short, not too clicky, not clicky enough. And I really like it. Further shaping, that's definitely part of mixing, was the EQing. So let's get rid of the EQ settings. Like that top click, it was just cutting through too much. That's rarely the case. Usually you have to raise it to make it cut through. But in this case, I wanted it to have something more darker, sophisticated, so I lowered that kind of click. And around 300 Hertz, you can even see it in the analyzer, was like a frequency that was like a little boomy and cluttering up the mix. So just removed it to make it even cleaner, smoother. I also try out low cutting the kick. Didn't really like it, so I left it without it. But on the master is actually a low cut, cutting everything a tiny bit. So that was it for the kick. Then clap, snare, like the stuff that is on 2 and 4. I layered 2 samples. That's something I love to do, because having like wide snares and claps sounds really epic, but then again, if you switch to mono, it's like it's gone. It loses a lot of volume. So I layer it. I have a clap that is really wide, like almost very thin. It doesn't have anything in the middle and the mono mids playing. And then something that is like harsher, has more noise, more top frequencies, more mid frequencies, a lot more attack to like bite through. And on both of them, almost no processing, like just low cuts on that clap bit. Like don't even worry about that. Like it's just, I don't know why I did that. But on the clap, I changed a little. That's something I also love to do with the transient designer. I like increase the sustain, just like to make it smoother and suck more towards the next kind of kick. Kind of the tail that the sample already has is louder and like giving you like a ramp a little to the next kick. I absolutely love that. Then I also use, that's something more mixing technical, I use standard clip on the clap and snare, because both of them, and that's something that's kind of hard to hear. I have here a limiter, and it shows me every time like the gain reduction, and usually if the gain reduction is like the kick triggers it, and let's say you have like 2 dB of gain reduction every time the kick hits, but then when the snare and clap is hitting, it jumps like to 4 or 6, then you usually know that they're too loud. But when you listen to it and it sounds just fine, then it's usually like some of the transients are just like being too loud, and you can reduce them without changing the sound of the sample that much with the clipper. You just cut away those like peaks that trigger your limiter. That's kind of an easy way to get loud stuff in there, not trigger the limiter, and this way get the entire song louder. I hope this makes sense. But let's listen to the clap with the clipper and without. Like no real change in it, but it just helps to control everything that is being feeded into the limiter. Did the same. No, actually didn't do the same on the snare. I should, maybe. I'll check later. Then we get hi-hats. Nothing special, just a sample, low cut, tiny bit of reverb. These rides, same here, just cutting low, top a little. And I actually added a hint of sidechaining just to cut away like the beginning of it. Gives more room to the kick, like the click of the kick to cut through. Some very chopped up loops. I think I showed you those already. Next up, bass lines, 2, 1 for the low, very low. Here actually I've cut it away like at 160 Hertz, quite a lot. Makes it a lot cleaner, and since I have a second bass layer that occupies that frequency spot, I don't want both of them to overlap, start phasing, causing problems. So I just reduce it, makes this cleaner, gives it a more like dedicated kind of role in the song, filling out the low end, a little fuzz. Of course, sidechaining, some OTT is always good. And then the second bass layer. Which is very thin. Again, EQing those two against each other so everyone has its place. And this one is just like for the attack. Like the lower bass didn't have like enough attack, just sustain was a little boring. So every time the note is being played, you have like this attack at the beginning. Then on the synths, to be honest, I haven't done a lot, just low cuts, reverbs here and there, and like fine-tuning the sounds themselves within the synthesizers. We also got, let's see. Yeah, really nothing special, just like 2-3 plugins each. Then the vocal. The vocal right now is just like a demo, like a rough kind of sketch. But I already started like trying out going into certain directions. We got reverb, of course. You saved me from the fire. There's like one layer in it. Something I would also consider mixing, at least when I mix for other people, I sometimes do it. If I have the feeling an element isn't thick enough, I just copy it down. And then, for example, in this case, I used the vocal synth, a little vocoder, and like giving it like a sub layer underneath. So the main vocal on its own. 'Cause you saved me from the fire. Just that hint, and something I haven't done so far today for the first time because I discovered it. There's like a gate function, so you can gate that effect. Let's play it solo. This also gives it like a kind of pumping feel, and it only goes through on the louder vocal bits, emphasizing them. It's just like something that is interesting. Then, of course, cutting away the lows a little, boosting some right here, 200, 300, 400, 500 Hertz. Just to emphasize those frequencies that I thought that were missing. And then on the entire vocal bus, and that's just because I was really lazy, I will probably, once I get the final vocals, do it on the individual tracks to have more control. But I got an I/O plugin, so this is going out to channel 3132, which is right here, a compressor. Just, I don't know, like 2 or 3 dB of gain reduction just to control it, give it some color, and then soothy, making sure that all of the harsh kind of sounds are being de-essed. It's in a de-esser setting. And I added quite a lot of saturation with the TR5 Saturation X by, I think it's EQ Multimedia. And another lazy move, just on the entire bus, an auto volume plugin. So I don't have to do it manually with like volume fades and automation, but I might have to. It's good, but it doesn't get it 100% right all the time. And then on these main pads, it's just like cutting the lows away, giving it a little movement, then sample delay to make it really wide, and another sample delay to also make it wide. I wanted them to sit like around the vocal in the middle, those pads around, and make it like just one wall of sound, and then have all of the surrounding things around the vocal drop in the drop down, and then just the vocal, which I think works. Let's play that part. You see, now listening to it, I think the vocal can be increased by 2-3 dB. But again, if I increase it at this spot where it's needed, in other spots it's not right. So I will have to cut up the vocal. The vocal is still work in progress, but everything else so far, fine. I'm happy with it. It's a pretty simple kind of club track, but it's arranged more like a pop song. It's basically kind of the Spotify version. I might do a full club version with intros and outros, but that's just like copy paste and that's it. For the effect sounds, nothing too special, some reverb, some low cuts, and that's then really it. All of it is then being summed right here, which doesn't do a whole lot, but I like it. And on the master, very simple, just a compressor, making sure to like densen the entire song a hint, like really just a bit, like 1 dB of gain reduction. And I've put it into MS mode, so it's just like compressing the mid signal. The side signal, I leave it alone to keep the dynamics in there. Then the EQ on the master is just like a low cut. For the side signal, also here MS mode, I've just cut away a little more to keep like everything below, what is it, 121? Yeah, 121 hertz. Just keep it mono or have no side information in there. And then the limiter is set to a clip setting, and it's just clipping a dB. Let's maybe hit play and look at all of these. So it's really just a hint on the master. I could now like drop all of the stuff on the master, and the only change would be the drop in volume, of course, but it doesn't do a lot, and it shouldn't. Mixing is all about fixing it at the source as much as possible, and if you have the individual tracks, go back there and try to fix it. And then the last in the chain is just the Pro L2, and it's barely doing anything, which I really like. You save me from the fire, and we are stronger to hold you. So just at like certain spots, it's just like pressing it down by 0.4 dB, which isn't much, so you don't get almost any kind of distortion on top of the track, and we're still quite loud. Let's put up span and loop up a part. Yeah, between -7.5 and -i8 RMS, which is fairly loud, but no kind of distortion on the limiter, mostly due to like limiting and clipping while mixing. Then the clipper on the master doing a hint, and of course like the initial balance between elements. If something is popping out, triggering the limiter too hard, I know it's something very technical, but mixing is technical. You have to try and like sneak fix it, kind of make it not hit the limiter as hard, but make it still sound the same. I think that's like one of the goals of mixing, mastering. Squeeze out more without destroying the initial thoughts and thinking of the producers. Here in this case, I produced it, I mixed it, I mastered it. So I have like full control, which is sometimes really good. I could now go back and change the kick, but it also makes the entire process a little longer because you're like in circles, going back, going back, going back. But at the end, as long as I get a good result, I'm happy. Now just waiting for the vocals, and then I'll show you again how I process the vocals in more detail, finish up this song, send it out to a label, and hopefully making sure this will be released within the next 2-3 months. Thanks a lot for watching, and don't forget there's something special. Since I promised to not buy any gear anymore, as long as I don't replace gear, I got this monitor controller just 2 days ago. I got something here that is being replaced, and that is a giveaway to one of you. So just comment down below what you like and what you hate about mixing, and have a chance to win this simple monitor controller. Thanks a lot for watching. See you tomorrow back again here in the studio. Sign out.